All right, finally tonight, Say It Ain't So, our new media brethren on the payroll of political campaigns. John has more.
Ever since they got press passes to the Democratic National Convention 2 years ago, political bloggers have become something of a fixture on the campaign trail.
What you've got here are, the 35 credentialed by the DNC webloggers.
The undisputed high point for the bloggerati came last summer in Connecticut when they whipped up support for Moneybags newcomer Ned Lamont, who then whipped Senator Joe Lieberman in the Democratic primary.
My name is Ned Lamont, and I approve this message. Thank you!
As it turns out, some of Lamont's money in that campaign went to, wait for it, political bloggers. This week, the New York Times published a pay-for-praise chart showing which bloggers got what money from which candidates. Local blogger David Kravitz of Blue Mass Group says there's a delicate balance involved here.
I don't have a big problem with campaigns paying bloggers or paying anybody else to do whatever they want, as long as they're transparent and upfront about it.
Some yes, some no. According to the Times, the kept bloggers appeared on some of the left wing's glamour websites, from the Huffington Post to the Daily Kos to MyDD, whose sole proprietor Jerome Armstrong pocketed almost $200,000 from various candidates. The Times piece said that few of the kept bloggers shut down their independent sites after going on the take, but it went even beyond that. Armstrong bragged this week that the other bloggers he farmed out his website to were in reality him, writing under those aliases the entire time. And the blog rolling didn't stop there. Armstrong also posed as liberal blogger Scott Shields, who posted for pay for yet another Democratic candidate. But David Kravitz says, not to worry, the truth will out.
People on the grassroots are pretty quick to figure out, frankly, when someone is saying what they really think and whether they're just sort of a paid shill. And they're not really interested in hearing from paid shills.
Yes, well, tell that to Hillary Clinton and John McCain as they line up their paid shills for 2008.
All right, I admit, I was shocked about this. I had no idea. I mean, it's one thing to have an opinion, and we've talked about this many times about how informed their opinions are and where it comes from, but to be paid to produce an opinion on behalf of someone else, I find that absolutely shocking. I think this is damaging. I mean, not that they had great credibility anyway, but this is exceedingly damaging to the credibility of these bloggers.
Yeah, the best part is that, the best or worst part is that these are the people who are always criticizing the mainstream media for being corrupt and self-serving. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they're in this position. And some of them disclose, some of them don't, some of them disclose all the time, some of them disclose some of the time. I mean, it varies, but basically they are masquerading as independent commentators, and there's a level of advocacy in the political blogosphere that's apparent. But the idea that it's no better than Armstrong Williams, who was getting money from the White House to go out and say what he thought, not change what he thought, just keep saying what he thought, but he was getting money. You have the right to know if he's getting money. In the same way, these liberal bloggers are committing the same sin that they railed against 1 year ago.
But there is no accountability in the blogosphere, and that's kind of one of the things that's beautiful about the blogosphere, is the fact that it's a free-flow information. You say what you want to say, and the best blogs are the ones that are partisan, that have a super strong point of view. And I don't think many bloggers portray themselves as being independent or objective news sources. I think that they are out front about their partisanship, and that's what makes them so powerful. But corporations and politicians are now realizing the power of these blogs. That's how they break news. When Blue Mass Group, for example, which is a great website, but when they endorsed Deval Patrick, people in the Deval Patrick campaign were disappointed because now suddenly they had sort of shown their hand, and it didn't seem like there was some great groundswell of support on the internet for Deval. It was just basically an extension of their campaign website. So I think there's a lot of attention being paid to to how by politicians and corporations how their message is portrayed on blogs.
Well, I expect the bloggers to be partisan. I expect them to be advocates. In fact, I'm always saying they're not journalists. They're not journalists. But I expect them to be honest partisans and honest advocates. I don't expect them to be taking money for their opinions. Thank you. The whole alias thing. And Armstrong Williams' defense, I'm sure this is what many of them will say, is, well, this is what I was going to say anyway. And if I got a check along with it, well, What's the harm? Well, the harm is I need to know that every time you're writing an opinion that you're getting paid for this, and a lot of money too, not just a little bit. I think some of those people reading these partisan sites would be shocked at the amount of money that these people are getting to express their opinion, whether or not it may be something that they would have said before by themselves.
I think we're just scratching the surface of this problem with credibility in the blogs, and I think there are a lot of practices going on that's a little fast and loose. When I worked at a bulletin board service, which is really the precursor to the blogs, it was very well known in the industry that you hire what are called seeders to post messages to make it look like you have more traffic and more interesting traffic than you actually have. And now we have corporations who are also seeding into these blogs as well. So I think that the blogging community, if they want to continue to be seen as a credible source, needs to really tighten up their relationship and honesty with their viewers.
I think this blogging community, the liberal blogging community, especially the one that gathered around Ned Lamont, doesn't care about being seen as a credible source. They care about being movers of the process, and they think that they can go out there and be players now. And my feeling is, in the interest of fairness, if you're going to go on somebody's payroll, a candidate's payroll, blog on his or her website. Don't blog on your own and recuse yourself. But that's never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. One other thing, Blue Mass Group did not get money from, and I'm not saying you apply this, they didn't get any money from Deval Patrick. They endorsed them, but they never received any money from them. But they turned from sort of commentators to advocates, and it changes the role of the bloggers. All of a sudden now you're not getting what you might have gotten earlier.
I wonder if the candidates thought that this was worth the money.
Obviously they did. They're paying big bucks to do it. But what's interesting to me is, why don't you just let them do what they were doing anyway? And I guess they're afraid to risk that there would be some criticism coming from these sites. But and to your point, John, you're only a mover if you're bringing a movement. If you don't have a movement, then why the hell do I want to pay you? That's ridiculous.
A couple of the notes here, also in the media.